Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. 2025 is not a year for noise. It's not a year for distractions. It's not a year to explain yourself to people who don't care to understand. This year is about locking in, about mastering yourself, about going to war, not with others, but with your own limitations. Because the truth is this, you owe yourself a life that feels good on the inside, not one that just looks good on Instagram. Silence is often misunderstood in our modern world. We're conditioned to think that if we're not constantly talking, posting, or promoting, then we're falling behind. But the truth is the opposite. Real power doesn't scream, it whispers. In fact, silence, when intentional, is one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. It's not about muting your voice, it's about learning when and where to use it. And in 2025, if you want to truly evolve, to rise above the noise, you need to understand that silence is not weakness, it's discipline, it's clarity, it's strategy. Most people burn their energy in explaining themselves why they're making a certain move, why they're saying no, why they're working late, why they're spending more time alone. But energy is not infinite. Every explanation, every post, every argument is a withdrawal from your emotional bank. And if you're constantly withdrawing, eventually you run empty. When you're silent, you conserve your energy. You stop responding to things that don't serve your growth. You don't chase validation. You don't need to tell the world what you're about to do because you're too busy doing it. That kind of silence is powerful. It's not passive. It's active restraint. It's focus. It's emotional intelligence. Think of a lion. A lion doesn't roar all day to prove it's the king. It moves with quiet confidence, acting only when it's time to act. That's the kind of energy we need in this era. You don't need to announce your dreams. Let your results speak so loudly they drown out the noise. There's also an internal silence that comes with this practice. When you stop explaining, you stop obsessing over other people's opinions, you stop fighting for your identity in external conversations, you turn inward, and in that space, you start to build something real. That's where real self-worth is developed. Not in noise, but in stillness. Let me give you an example to illustrate this. There was a young woman named Maya who was working in a corporate job while secretly building her own design business on the side. Her friends didn't understand why she was missing events, not posting updates, and avoiding weekend hangouts. People started talking. Some even said she was being arrogant or antisocial, but she stayed quiet. She stayed locked in. For almost a year, she posted nothing about what she was working on. She just kept refining her designs, saving her money, learning the industry. One day, without warning, she launched her brand online. Within 2 weeks, her work went viral. Suddenly, the same people who questioned her silence were now sharing her posts and congratulating her success. She didn't respond with "I told you so." She just smiled and went back to work. That's silent power. She didn't need to announce the work, she became the work. When you realize the power of silence, you become immune to distractions. You don't need to defend your goals. You don't need to prove your hustle. You live in such alignment with your purpose that external validation becomes irrelevant. That's where the real freedom lies, not in being loud, but in being grounded. So in 2025, choose your words like you choose your investments. Don't spend them on things that don't offer return. Hold your silence like a sword, only unsheath it when necessary. And remember, people may doubt your silence, but they'll never doubt your results. In a world that is louder than ever, protecting your inner world has become not just important, but essential. Everywhere you turn, there's noise, distractions disguised as opportunities, opinions disguised as facts, and constant stimulation disguised as connection. If you're not intentional about what you allow into your mind and your energy, the world will gladly flood it with chaos. The real challenge in 2025 isn't finding the information, it's protecting your attention from being hijacked by everything that doesn't matter. People often underestimate the power of focus, not because they don't value it, but because they've never truly experienced it. Most people live in a mental fog, scattered between dozens of apps, conversations, and micro-decisions every hour. They wonder why they're anxious, tired, and unfulfilled. But if your attention is fractured, so is your energy. And fractured energy can't build anything strong. You can't create momentum when you're in 1,000 directions at once. You can't experience peace if your mind is constantly bombarded with the noise of other people's lives and expectations. Think about it. Your phone lights up. Your mind gets pulled, you scroll through a feed, and suddenly you're comparing your real life to someone else's highlight reel. You see someone traveling, someone buying a car, someone announcing a new venture, and without even realizing it, you start to feel behind. Not because you're not doing well, but because your focus was stolen and redirected towards someone else's timeline. That is the cost of unchecked noise. It plants doubt, insecurity, and comparison where there should be clarity, confidence, and progress. Now, imagine instead you chose silence. Not as an escape, but as a strategy. You curate what you consume. You're not reactive to everything that pops up. You wake up and before touching your phone, you check in with yourself, your goals, your intentions, your vision. You go for a walk without music just to listen to your own thoughts. You spend the first hour of your day building your mind before letting the world in. That's focus. And focus isn't passive, it's a fight. It means saying no to things that everyone else says yes to simply because they're comfortable with being overstimulated and distracted. Let me share a short example. There was a young entrepreneur named Jalen who had big dreams. He wanted to start a digital marketing agency, but he spent most of his time watching what other agencies were doing, following every trend, reading every opinion online. He joined dozens of groups, read hundreds of comments, and spent hours arguing about strategies in forums. One day, his mentor told him, "You're so busy watching everyone else build, you forgot to build your own." That hit him. He made a change. He unsubscribed from all the noise. He limited his media intake. He started waking up 2 hours earlier, using that time in silence to plan and create. Within 6 months, his agency had its first major client. And he credits that success not to some magic tactic, but to the discipline of quiet focus. That's the power of protecting your inner world. It's not about being unaware of what's happening outside. It's about choosing not to be controlled by it. It's about understanding that clarity is the product of space, not noise. And if you want to create something powerful this year, whether that's a business, a relationship, a healthy body, or a calm mind, you need to filter the inputs that shape your reality. Focus isn't something you find, it's something you protect. And silence isn't absence, it's presence. Presence with your goals, your values, and your potential. When you stop talking, you start doing. It's that simple. We live in a world that's addicted to talking, sharing plans, broadcasting intentions, updating every minor move on social media. But real transformation doesn't happen in the spotlight, it happens in silence, in the unseen hours. In the quiet moments when no one is clapping for you, when there's no audience, no validation, that's where the actual work is done. Think about this. Talking about your goals can give you a false sense of accomplishment. You feel productive just by saying what you're going to do, but saying it isn't doing it. Real progress requires action, consistency, and grit behind closed doors. Far from the applause, far from the attention. In 2025, the invitation is simple but powerful. Stop announcing and start becoming. This year should be the year you use silence as a forge. A place where you build something sacred. Something that reflects your real worth. That means building your body in the gym before showing it off. That means learning the skills quietly before demanding recognition. That means healing emotionally without needing everyone to know you're on a journey. The inner work is more powerful than any status update could ever convey. Because here's the truth, the strongest people are often the quietest. Not because they're timid, but because they're focused. They understand that time spent explaining is time not spent building. They don't need to convince others of who they're becoming because they know who they're becoming. The evidence will show. The results will talk. But only after the work is done. A powerful example of this comes from the life of an aspiring athlete. Let's call her Maya. In 2024, Maya decided she wanted to become a competitive marathon runner. But instead of posting a new year, a new me message, or sharing daily updates, she did something radically different. She went silent. She trained every morning before sunrise. She changed her diet. She studied recovery and mindset techniques. For months, nobody heard a thing about what she was doing. No check-ins, no watch me posts, just focused, disciplined effort. People around her assumed she had dropped the idea. Some even said she'd probably quit. But one day in October, Maya showed up at a major city marathon. No one knew she was competing until the results were posted online. She didn't just run the race, she placed in the top 10. People were stunned. They asked, "When did you start training?" And her answer was simple, "The moment I stopped talking about it." That's the essence of the point. While others were talking, Maya was building. While others sought likes and validation, she sought results. The silence wasn't just a void, it was the very condition that allowed her transformation to take place. Her silence gave her space to make mistakes without judgment, to adjust her path without pressure, to grow without distraction. When you stop trying to prove something to others, you gain the freedom to focus on what really matters, becoming the person you said you'd be. You don't need witnesses for that. You need courage, commitment, and consistency. So in 2025, let your silence be sacred. Let it be the soil in which your roots grow deep. You don't need to defend your path. You don't need to advertise your healing. What you build in private will one day speak so loudly in public that you won't need to say a word. You don't stumble into focus. You don't wake up one day with unshakable discipline and laser-sharp clarity. Focus is earned. It's forged in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It's built through deliberate effort, repeated practice, and ruthless decision-making. Just like a muscle, focus needs to be trained. Left unused, it weakens. Honed daily, it becomes a superpower. In 2025, distractions are louder than ever. Notifications, trends, breaking news, viral videos, everything is engineered to pull you away from yourself. And if you're not actively training your focus, you're being trained to serve someone else's agenda. This isn't just about turning off your phone or deleting an app. It's about training your mind to stay with the task, to stay with the vision, to stay with you. Training focus starts with small, intentional commitments. It might mean spending 30 uninterrupted minutes each day reading something that sharpens your thinking. It might mean setting a boundary, no phone the first hour after waking up. It might mean scheduling blocks of time where you dive deep into a project without allowing yourself to switch tabs or check messages. And most importantly, it means building resilience to boredom and discomfort. Because focus often isn't exciting, it's gritty, it's repetitive, and it's uncomfortable. But that's where the power lies. We've been conditioned to equate stimulation with productivity, but they're not the same. Scrolling through ideas isn't the same as building something. Listening to 10 podcasts isn't the same as implementing one insight. Bouncing from thought to thought feels productive, but it rarely results in meaningful progress. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't necessarily smarter, they've just mastered the art of staying with what matters. Let me give you a short but powerful example. There's a young man who wanted to master coding. Everyone around him was bouncing from one new skill to the next. AI today, design tomorrow, crypto next week. But he made a different decision. He picked one language, Python, and gave himself 6 months of complete focus. No distraction, no course hopping, no chasing trends, just 2 hours a day, every day, coding in silence. He failed often. He got bored sometimes, but he didn't quit. At the end of 6 months, he wasn't just a beginner. He was building real projects, landing freelance work, and earning respect in a community full of noise. While others were busy looking busy, he was quietly mastering his craft. That's what focused effort produces. That's the power of consistent, trained attention. Focus also means protecting your mental real estate. If your mind is filled with gossip, negativity, and external validation, you're robbing yourself of the clarity needed to build your future. You must treat your attention like gold. Audit your inputs. Guard your mornings. Choose your environments. Surround yourself with people and content that sharpen your edge instead of dulling your purpose. Each time you sit in silence with your goals, each time you push through distraction and choose depth, you're training that focus muscle. And like muscle, it grows. You start to resist the pull of shallow temptations. You begin to crave flow, not noise. You develop the rare ability to stay locked in while the world spins in chaos around you. In the end, focus gives you an unfair advantage. Not because it makes life easier, but because it makes you stronger. And when you're stronger, more grounded, more intentional, you become unstoppable. That's what 2025 demands. Not more noise, not more hacks, just focused, consistent inner work. Train your focus. Protect it like it's your greatest asset, because it is. So here's the bottom line. 2025 is your year of quiet power. You don't owe the world an explanation for your healing. You don't owe them access to your process. You owe yourself results. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself transformation. Let them talk, let them doubt. While they scroll, you build. While they gossip, you grow. While they sleep, you rise. Focus on yourself. Stay silent. Dominate the year.